And we kind of want to lay some things out, take a little bit of a chance and say, we're going to lay out some predictions, maybe some bold predictions for 2026. Yeah. And, when they come true, we're going to replay this over and over again. And when they don't come true, we're going to delete this episode.
So you better watch it.
Yeah, watch it and remember and come back and test it.
Yeah. Episode 10.
Episode 10, double digits, baby.
We did it.
We're doing it.
Like, it's consistent.
That's it.
Man.
One very key in life. If you want success in anything, you just got to keep doing it.
That's right. That's right.
And then see what happens. Keep chopping.
Keep chopping. That's right.
Well, welcome back to the Anchored Real Estate Podcast. We're glad to have you with us. I'm Johnny. That's 2025 Realtor of the Year, Cody Chimbars. He's the one that brings some actual relevance and some expertise to this podcast.
I don't know about that.
He anchors us, if you will.
Yeah.
He's also the broker of Anchor Real Estate Advisors. And today we're going to go into an interesting show. At being our 10th episode, we've talked about a lot of stuff. And we've talked stats and we've shared some stories and all those things about what we've done. But now we're in January of a new year. And we want to lay some things out and take a little bit of a chance and say, we're going to lay out some predictions, maybe some bold predictions for 2026. Yeah. And, when they come true, we're going to replay this over and over again. And when they don't come true, we're going to delete this episode.
So you better watch it.
Yeah, watch it and remember and come back and test it.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got some notes here. We're just going to give our hot takes on what some of these ideas are.
Yeah. So again, this is not a crystal ball episode, right? So we are making a prediction.
Yeah.
And part of this is because we want to see how it turns out, right? I mean, there were a lot of predictions for 2025 that it was going to be a great year. It was the first full year that President Trump was, shaking and baking in the White House. And, a lot of agents did not do well last year.
Yep, that's true.
I don't know if you saw the stat, but 71% of NAR, so National Association of Realtors, 71% of realtors across the United States sold zero homes.
Right. Yeah.
Zero.
Like 29% of all realtors sold 100% of them.
Right. And so you're like, oh man, well, but that was a similar stat to 2024, right? I mean, it's very, very similar, like 72% sold zero homes. So, we're going to talk about national headlines, but then we're also going to break down like the local Atlanta and the North Georgia market, which if you did not watch our last episode, we nerded out on the data. Really, right. Johnny nerded out. He is the nerd of the group.
Yeah. Well, the truth of the matter is, I mean, anybody that works in a job where they need to have some sense of where their job's going to go, whether it's a market, stock market, or real estate market. And what we're doing is there are trends for sure. And we have to have our finger on the pulse of that trend. Yeah. And then that trend is naturally going to lead to, again, watching a bunch of weather recently, it's just going to lead to what's going to happen in the coming days, months, and years. It's inevitable. A part of our job is to be somewhat of a forecaster. Now, we don't say what we say is going to be, but our clients are going to ask, what do you think is going to happen here? And if we're not prepared to answer that with some real data, then we're going to be shortchanging our clients.
Right. Well, and I think the reality is that most people aren't waiting on the market. They're waiting on confidence.
That's a great point. Right. It is, because at some point the numbers come together in their minds. My mind, the same thing when I buy and I go, this makes sense. I have confidence this is going to be right for me. Absolutely. It's a great way to put it.
Yeah. So, the reality is, I believe that the Atlanta market is buffered. It's sheltered, if you will. I mean, we see so much activity in the Atlanta market, people wanting to move in for job relocation, whatever. I mean, Google headquarters, like you name it. Yeah. We've got the occupation, we've got the jobs here in Georgia, specifically in Atlanta. And then, where we're located in Dawsonville, Georgia, we're 50 minutes, an hour north of Atlanta. Yeah. And we're seeing people move out of Atlanta to get out of the hustle and bustle.
Right.
So, our real estate market, I feel like is sheltered from other real estate markets where you see these national headlines and home prices are dipping at a higher percentage than other places. And people that consume that daily, all of a sudden they start believing what they're watching.
Yeah, that's right.
And then they correlate the news with our local market. And sometimes that doesn't correlate.
Yeah, and that's why real estate is so local in its nature. We can compare our market, which is warm, to other markets like Boston, New York, where they never seem to have a dip. They always seem to kind of, if they have a dip, it's always muted by comparison. So, but if you're looking at, say, a Las Vegas market, and you go, oh, well, they're the first to fall, they're dipping, or Phoenix, there's always seem to be like bellwether type market. And you go, well, that's happening to us next. And that's just probably not the case.
Yeah.
And then, I call it being propped up or reinforced, our market. There's certain market forces that say, what will keep this market in particular from crashing is, and you name the things.
Yeah, that's good. So let's talk about interest rates.
Yep.
Like what's really happening with the interest rates?
Right.
What have you been noticing?
So they've been slowly leaking off. I think last year, those were the words. If I was shooting this episode last year, I would have said they're going to leak down or they're going to bleed down. And they've done that. I think the administration is really pushing hard for lower interest rates. I think you've seen in the last month initiatives put forward. This isn't a political show, but there are initiatives being put forward to try to make home buying easier.
Yep.
And one of them, and I'll stick with interest rates for now, there's been pressure on the feds from the administration, right, wrong, or indifferent, to lower interest rates. Now, again, I think that affects the market in different ways, but from an interest rate perspective, I think the administration really wants the interest rates to get lower. You'd mentioned, 3-year low?
Yeah.
Sub 6 is a 3-year low.
Yep.
And then I think there's just a hard push I think politically, politicians want lower interest rates because people want lower interest rates. So I think they're going to push for that. So if I'm making a bold prediction for 2026, they're going to continue to leak down. I'd be surprised if they went below 5.
Yeah.
I really would, because when the interest rate gets too low, then inflation shoots up. And if you're already in a mode where you're trying to control inflation, it's hard to lower interest rates and control inflation. So my bold prediction, leak down into the mid 5s.
Okay, so you're mid 5s.
I'm going on the record. Mark it down. Mid 5s.
Mid 5s. Johnny G, the statistician over here. Yeah, and I would say the same thing. However, again, if we were shooting this episode last year, I would have said, hey, we should be, below 6 by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And here we are. It's January 2026, and we're just now getting national news press release that it's below 6.
Yeah.
And that just happened this week,
right,
by the way.
Yep.
So I would tend to agree with you. I would say, low to mid 5s is where we'll see the rates. We are going to have a new Fed chair coming in May. I think the administration, like you had mentioned, there's been a lot of things coming out of the White House. One of those, locking down these corporate investors.
Yep.
The 50-year mortgage.
Yep.
Right? They're trying to make affordability. Maybe we should do a video on the 50-year mortgage. Don't do it.
It's a whole nother animal,
don't
for
do
sure.
It. Yeah, don't do it. But I think, with those rates, like if we see the rates go to the low 5s, mid 5s, what are our home prices going to do?
Yeah, that's the flip side of the coin. And so we talked about in the last episode, really tried to make the point in our statistics episode 8, where there's pent-up demand. Our population keeps increasing, but we saw lower numbers of sales, which means the difference between the two is pent-up demand. And as soon as the interest rates dip down, that dam that's holding people back will start to break loose. So when interest rates go down, home values don't go down when interest rates go down. So it might make it a little easier to afford. That's great. And that's still a positive thing. That's still movement in the right direction for home buyers. But don't think that prices are going to come down in conjunction with. So I would expect home prices to increase. So if I'm giving a hot take, we saw home prices over the last couple of years up 1%, 0.5%. I think year over year, we'll be back up to a 3 to 4% year over year. Because if the administration is successful in getting rates down a little bit, which it seems they're going to be that will shake loose enough buyers to kind of get home prices kind of ticking slowly back up.
Right. And we're going to talk about that in just the next couple of seconds.
Yeah.
What do we think the home prices are going to do?
Yeah.
So one last thought about the rates, right, is the biggest mistake is waiting on the rate instead of running the math. Right. And so, if we could tell you anything as far as waiting, if it makes sense, do the math. Do the math and then let it make sense. Right. And so, all right.
Yeah, we've essentially said once you can afford it, there's the analysis is maybe the interest rates go down a little bit, but that home is now going up 20 grand. And so your payment stays the same, or maybe it's a slightly lower payment, but now the house is 20,000 more. So in the long run,
Come see, come see. Yeah. All right. Third prediction.
Yes.
Home prices up, down, or flat?
Yeah. My bold prediction. So over the last 2.5 years, they've been relatively flat year over year. They've been up 0.5% or percent. My bold prediction is this spring, and this is based on the pent-up demand and all the things we've been talking about. I think we're up 4 to 5% year over year. And we can check that, say, the end of the summer would be the best time, which is a dramatic change to the last couple of years. It's not dramatic overall, like historically dramatic, but over the last couple of years, and that just, to me, it's just pushing towards what is a normal market. But I think between the administration pushing towards lower interest rates, like right, wrong, or indifferent, I think there will be slightly lower interest rates, and that will shake enough of the pent-up demand loose to push our home prices, since they've been kind of stagnant, push them up just a few percent.
Right. And I've been telling people too, right along with what you've been saying, is this last market that we've been in this last year has been a correction market. It's been a stabilization market.
Yeah.
Right. Because we saw such a huge outlier of increased prices, the buyer demand, all of that. So this was a correction and stabilization market this past year. I personally believe, just based on my personal activity, my real estate business, I think it's going to be a wild year. I think we're seeing more people, now that we're through the 2025, we're seeing more people say, hey, what's my home worth? I mean, I've went on 5 listing appointments in the last, since the start of the year.
Right.
And so what is that telling me is that people they're interested, right? They're ready to liquidate, and it's up to us to be able to educate them. Is now the time to sell? Right. At the end of the day, they have to decide that time period for them.
And that is an example of pent-up demand. So pent-up demand just means there's people who are ready to move. They've kind of made a decision that they're going to move or they're going to sell, but they're kind of just waiting for something to happen. But that has been backlogging for a few years now, and that's got to shake loose.
Yeah, it does. And we're still seeing well-priced, well-located homes go under contract quickly.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Right? I mean, I listed one last week and just received an offer yesterday. So
nice houses that are priced right are still super competitive, and you still can get fast sales for sure.
Right. And all right. So, my prediction, my bold prediction, I think we're going to see an upmarket. I do. I think we're going to see activity. Buyers are coming in. Interest rates are going to be favorable. And we're going to have a very successful year. So my prediction would be you don't wait. If you are on the fence, get off the fence. Get in before everyone else does. Get a deal. Watch the other people that waited drive the market up a little bit, 4 to 5%. And guess what? You bought early. You made that equity, and you got the deal where everyone else is paying a little bit more.
That's the thing. 4% sounds boring, but on a $500,000 house, that's $20,000.
$20,000 in a year. Yeah. Yep. All right. Buyer behavior. Let's make a prediction. What buyers will do next?
What do you mean? Buyers will do next is because there's a lot of different buyers. And this is kind of what we talked about. There's younger buyers, there's older buyers. No, I think buyers will just they'll start acting on what they've been wanting to do for a while. And I think that's what we're going to hear. We've been wanting to do this for several years. We just didn't know when. And that's going to be across the board. We've been wanting to sell for a while. We just didn't know what would be the right time. We've been wanting to buy for a while, or I've been living with my parents long enough, and it's time to move on. And I think that's going to be a common theme. What are buyers going to be doing? I think it's just kind of they're going to get out of that that situation that they wouldn't have stayed in for 3 years by design, and now they're just like, well, now it's time.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. So your prediction is that we're going to see more buyer activity.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What I think too, that buyers are more educated now, right? Like I've talked to people, they're actually watching YouTube videos, or they're staying away from the news, but they're educating themselves. And another fun fact is the average first-time home buyer in the United States is 40 years old.
Yes. Very surprising.
Very
statistic.
surprising.
Yep.
So, and I think as well that my big prediction, okay, and we're going to see this, no doubt. We're going to see home sale contingencies.
Yeah.
We're going to see more home sale contingencies in 2026 than we've seen in the last 6 years.
Yep. Agreed.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that, once we get into that market, that is where our sellers truly need an expert that has navigated home sale contingency.
So home sale contingency is when you own a home, you want to buy another home, but you can't buy that home until you sell your first home. And for the last, ever since the post-COVID rush, home sale contingencies have been the kiss of death, because there's somebody else was going to come in with cash, or they went ahead and sold their home first. And then so that whole complication of selling the home, a lot of people are getting that out of the way. And then, but now I agree, from a buyer behavior, I think you're going to see a lot more people with home sale contingencies, and it's up to us to really educate on what that is, which, by the way, is completely normal.
Yeah.
It's completely normal to have a home sale contingency. It's just things got so competitive that it almost got eliminated from the vernacular of a standard deal. I mean, but it is what it is, and we need to do a better job of explaining why it's not that big a deal.
Right.
And there are some parameters that we put in place.
Right.
But that's what a home sale contingency is, and it's real straightforward. You got to sell your house before you can buy the next one.
Right. And go watch that video, episode 8.
Yeah.
How to sell your house.
Yeah.
And buy a house
without going crazy.
Without going crazy.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the last one for this episode.
Okay.
By the way, if you've watched up to this point, drop an anchor emoji in the comments, and you might get a shout out in the next podcast.
Yeah.
So anchor emoji if you've watched up to this point, and thank you for watching up to this point too.
So smart.
And if you're listening on Spotify, any of the podcasts, I don't know, what do you want them to do?
Yeah, honk a horn. We'll hear
it. All right. Last prediction. Seller behavior. What do you think sellers
Sellers are such wild cards.
Tell them. Yeah.
Because and this is human behavior. Everybody wants the most they can get for their house, and that is just it's true. And it's sometimes we eye roll. But if we're selling our house, we're trying to get the most we can for our house. So it's not something I blame people for. But seller behavior, no, I think definitely I like what you said about home sale contingencies, where more sellers are going to say, I don't want to sell until we've got the next one in line. But otherwise, I still think there's going to be too much hype and too much information for sellers to just start giving stuff away. So one thing we saw in 2008, one thing that happened in that crash was sellers just got desperate, and they just started saying, just take it. I'll take the loss, but I got to move, or I don't want a foreclosure. I'll just give you all the discounts because I don't want to be really crushed here. None of that has happened here. Right. There was a difference also in education level and access to all the information we have with different websites telling us values and all that. And so seller behavior, I think honestly, I think they're going to be a little bit more stubborn.
More stubborn.
Yeah. Because they're going to see home prices going up, again. And they're going to want to do home sale contingencies, which, from our perspective, it's fine. It's normal. But when you're going to buy the next one, it can be a competition thing. But yeah, I mean, if it's my bold prediction, and I don't even know the stat that would point that out, maybe how long homes are listed, for example, that kind of points to that. But yeah, I think sellers are going to dig their heels in.
Yeah. Well, and we've seen that. Like, they're still anchored to that 2021, 22
Yeah,
market.
yeah.
I mean, again, I keep talking about my listing appointments, but I went out on one Thursday and I gave the value based upon the comps that the market offered me. It's a little 1-1 in Dahlonega.
Yeah.
And I said, it's between 180 and 200,000. And she basically laughed at me. And she said, oh, I had an offer for 210 and I laughed at them and turned it down. I said, well, great, take the 210.
Yeah.
You don't need me.
Yeah.
Right. But we're still seeing sellers that are so overpriced. They look at the Zestimate. They look at these different valuation models and they put their hope and faith in a model versus people that are actually boots on the ground doing this every single day, studying the market, studying the data, looking at what's actually sold, not some fictitious number that is out there for clickbait.
Right.
I said it. I'm getting fired up.
No, it is. I tell you what, let me give you a good comparison. Look up something on eBay. And you'll look at it and you go, oh man, all these are like $150, $120. So that thing must be worth $150. Now go into the other search and says, what that item sold for historically. It's never the $150. It'll be $95, $85. Because what's happening, and I'll use that because it's really easy. It's a different way to go and look. But what happens is people see listings and they go, that's what I'm worth. It's always sold. And what's not shown, like if I'm continuing this comparison, what you see in a sales price, it's really hard to tell what was in the deal because if there was closing costs given, that's not reflected anywhere in the stats that face the public. So, sure, he got $575 for his house, but he gave $22,000 in concessions and paid realtor and he gave closing costs and maybe it was a VA loan, which is the max amount of concessions and those kinds of things. You don't see that. We can tend to see that and understand where the values are.
Right. So at the end of the day, the people that price their home correctly, that prepare their home correctly, that listen to our suggestions, and then we also market aggressively, they're still going to win, right? But it has to be priced right. And that's what I'm telling every listing appointment that I go on is if it's not priced right, it's going to sit.
Yep.
And you're going to get mad at me.
Yep.
And I've done nothing. Except
That's it. Yeah, I've done nothing except for everything.
Except for everything.
Yeah.
And so my prediction is I think we're going to see more listings. I think the market will absorb those listings. And it kind of goes back to what the buyers are going to do. We're going to see those home sale contingencies. And so when the sellers find themselves in those home sale contingencies, they're going to tend to price their homes more aggressively in order to get it sold so they can move into this new home that they want to upgrade.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the market is still. I think it will be a good, strong market. I think it will lean back a little bit towards the sellers. The benefit to the buyers is going to be a lower interest rate, but to the sellers, the prices are going to stay good. However, there will be increased inventory, and so there will be increased competition.
That's right.
So if it's priced right, and we've seen this now for 2 years, it's really been consistent. Homes that are priced right, even if they're on the higher end, if they're priced right and they're nice, they're gone. Yep. Every time a seller says, "Well, let's try this," we talked about it the other day. Let's try this. What do we say? It's kiss of death. Let's try this. Yep, Cindy Eversole. Shout out.
Yep.
And she used those words, but she's 100% right.
Yep.
When you think in your mind as a seller, let me just try.
Yeah.
That's the kiss of death.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. All right. So we went on camera.
Here it is.
We made our predictions. And if you've watched this far, drop in the comments, what do you think is going to happen to the real estate market in 2026? And as always, if you want to follow us on the socials, Johnny, what's your socials?
At Mountain Mansions GA on the Facebook and the Instagrams.
That's right. And then Facebook for me, I'm Anchorman86, Facebook.com. And then Instagram, I'm just Cody Chembars. And you can follow our socials on Facebook, Anchor Real Estate Advisors, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. Obviously, you're following us. But episode 10 in the book.
What's our YouTube channel? Anchor Home Advisors.
Yes. That's a video for another day. All right. Thanks for watching. Drop us a comment. You are loved.